Hey, I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, and this right here is my Legend Circle. These are men that I've met in the past, probably wrestled in the past, or tag teamed with in the past. This right here is a man that I've been a tag team champion with, and a man that I beat at WrestleMania all those years ago for the WWE title, or should I say at the time, WWF title. This right here, this right here is another man that I fought at WrestleMania 18. Now, it may not have been the greatest match, but I personally know Scott Hall, and he's got the same interests as I do. He likes to chug down the beer like nobody's business. And this right here is a man that I've fought many times. A man that I have many great battles with. Possibly what people say one of the greatest men in wrestling history. One of the most legendary figures and one of the most greatest characters that WWE has ever created, The Undertaker. Now we're all gonna ask each other some questions, and probably talk about some good times that we've had over the years working with each other. I'll let you go first, Shawn Michaels. Well, me and Razor here are, we've been friends for years, along with Kevin and, Triple H, Of course, Scott has always had a drinking problem. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have a drinking problem, It's well documented that I did. What stopped that? Well, I've had a little help, and I've found God. I've changed my ways. That's a really nice story, Sean. But I'm really trying to refer to the stories as wrestlers. What we do in the ring, the moments we've had over the years. But that's a nice story. That's nice to hear that you got over some problems that you had by turning to religion. That's very nice to hear, Sean. Well, anyways, wrestling-wise. Well, I've wrestled all three of you, I've wrestled you at WrestleMania. I've been tag team champions with you. I've wrestled him and him. I've wrestled all three of you at WrestleManias. But Undertaker twice. Like, I remember the first Hell in a Cell against The Undertaker. I mean, that was one of the most brutal matches I've been a part of, man. Of course, that wasn't just the debut of the Hell in a Cell. That was the debut of Undertaker's brother, Kane. Yes, it was indeed. My brother Kane rose from the ashes. He rose from the ashes to seek his revenge on me. But eventually, he would regret everything. Eventually, I would put him in his final resting place. But Kane is just like me. He is immortal. He still walks upon this ground like I do. Hey, yo, man. It's time for you to let the bad guy talk here, man. It's time for you to let Razor Ramon speak, man. Well, go ahead, say some dang words, son. We ain't got all day. Well, let me say something to the people probably watching this video. Did you come here to see The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, or Stone Cold? Or did you come here to see the bad guy, the former Intercontinental Champion, and the man, Razor Ramon? Survey says you came here to see all these guys. You darn right they came here to see me. Well, everybody likes me. Everyone respects me, or else they will be in their final resting place. Hey, there's people that like me too. Yeah, but I probably have no room to say this, but you're pretty much known for just being a drunk, man. I hate to say it, but you're pretty much known for that. Yeah, but I've cleaned up, man. I've cleaned up a lot. Which is surprising, man. But hey, yo. Remember that time I faced you at WrestleMania, Shawn? For the Intercontinental title, it was in a ladder match. Yeah, I was kind of talking about that earlier. Man, that was like one of the greatest matches I ever had. I'm glad I had to share with you, Shawn, you know. Thanks, Razor. And with you, Austin, our match may have not been great, but it was a privilege to work with you. It's always a privilege to work with Stone Cold. And you, Undertaker. I don't believe we've ever fought before, but I do respect what you have done for this business. Everyone respects me, like I said. And I'll give my credit. All of you have done pretty well for yourselves. I've fought many of you. I've fought a lot of you. Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Hulk Hogan, the list goes on. I've had my greatest matches with Shawn, but I've had my hardest battles with Stone Cold. Stone Cold's the only one that I know that could trade punches with the likes of me. That's why me and him are good friends. Best friends. You're darn right. And I'm not lying when I say Undertaker's one of the greatest darn characters I've ever seen, and one of the best men I've ever wrestled and worked with. Every time I got to wrestle The Undertaker, I looked forward to it because I knew we were going to tear down the damn house. Like no one else. That's right. I knew we would. You and me were some of the toughest men that ever stepped foot in the ring. I'm not saying you ain't tough, Shawn, and I'm not saying you ain't tough, Razor. But when it came to me and Undertaker, no one could match us in toughness. But let's give some credit to Shawn. You are one of the toughest people I've ever fought. You have a never give up attitude. The one match that I remember having with you before the WrestleMania match was that King of the Ring 97. And you and me did tear down the house. You gave one of the best performances I've ever seen. You did too, Austin. And I gotta thank you for dropping the title to me at WrestleMania, cementing me as one of the biggest stars in wrestling history by winning the title and becoming the man to represent the WWF at the time. Well, I did have a back injury, so I kind of had to drop it. Of course, someone threatened me. Yeah, of course I threatened you. You refused to drop the title to Austin, so I was threatening to kick your ass, Shawn, if you didn't. And it was a good idea to drop it. You're darn right it is. You don't want to face the dark side. I've faced the dark side before, man. And I bet you didn't like what you saw, son. But ever do anything like that again, you will know what the dark side looks like. Guaranteed. Well, anyways, I'll go back to Taker talking about one moment. I remember. I don't really remember what move I did. But as one of the moments as you were getting up, your dang head hit me upside the jaw and about knocked me out. Yeah, I actually do remember that. People kind of thought it was a little bit funny, and it kind of was in looking at it. Yeah, it was kind of funny. But let's talk about Razor, or Scott, whatever you want to be called. Even though people just think you're just a drunk, you have done some pretty impressive things. You are a pretty impressive wrestler. Back in the early days when you started, you had what it takes to be the world champion. You traveled pretty much like all of us, like me and Taker. Oh, well, actually more like me. You worked for the WCW. You worked for the ECW, and you worked for the WWF, just like I did. Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker have always been loyal to WWF. Well, WWE now, but I'm going to say WWF because that's the time when I was there. But when you had your tenure over there, Razor Ramon, you became one of the most popular characters there was. You became the Intercontinental Champion. And you put on some great matches with the likes of Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. And the list goes on. So I'll give you some credit there, Scott. You were doing pretty darn good. Not to mention when you went back to WCW with Kevin Nash and got Hulk Hogan on your side and formed the New World Order. At the time, you were beating us in the ratings, and I gotta say, even though I was a little concerned that the company that I was working for would go out of business, you did pretty darn good. Because the NWO in the late 90s was one of the hardest things in wrestling, just like me and just like Goldberg was. And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold says so.